Uh-oh.
Okay, hello everybody. This is Joe Firestone for Power and Democracy, and I see we've got some company on the back end here. We're still talking about how can we make it happen, part 12, and we've been discussing how to make two things happen. The first thing is how we can make the how we can turn the idea of dump the corruption into reality. Why do we want to do this? Because if we could get everybody to follow the simple dump the corruption litmus test, we could turn over the whole House of Representatives in a single election. We could send packing most of the Democrats and all of the Republicans because they're all on the take. They're all taking big money. We could probably turn over 410 or 425 seats in 2024. That would create a political revolution in this country, and that's just the House. We could also knock off 1/3 of the senators who are running in 2024. For that matter, we could also knock off the President of the United States and whoever turns out to be his challenger, because they, of course, are all taking huge amounts of the big money. We could also cause revolutions in state legislatures all over the country because a lot of the state legislators are taking big money too. So we've been thinking it's worthwhile to talk about how to make it happen, and we've been starting to shape some plans about how to get started. Second thing we want to do is to break off the real progressive Democrats from the Congressional Progressive Caucus in the House. And the reason why that's so important is because we never want to see the kind of thing that happened in the railroad strike happen again. We want to get enough people who are willing to oppose that kind of thing to stop it from passing the House. So, what we think would be involved in that is splitting people off from the Congressional Progressive Caucus and getting them to declare themselves, as independent. So we've been talking more concretely about how to get that done, as well. So Dee and Brandy and Dee and Greg and I have discussed that in yesterday's stream. What we want to do in this stream is to bring Brandy into the circle and fill her in on what our thoughts are about it and see if she'd like us to change anything or if she has anything to add or if she thinks the whole thing is a bunch of baloney. So that's what we want to talk about here tonight.
Okay.
So let us start with our plans for Dump the Corruption. The initial plans, okay. We figured that the first thing to do with it is to get the idea really spread around the internet. And of course, we think to do that, we have to get ourselves on other shows, and we want to do it as a panel. In some circumstances, it would be a panel of the four of us. In other circumstances, there might be some other people who are very interested in what we're doing and committed, okay, to what we're doing, and they would become a part of the panel as well. So, of course, we're looking for shows that would take us on, okay, as panelists in order to discuss and socialize the dump the corruption idea. And one of the things we did last night is we discussed, of course, the possible shows we might want to go on or could go on. We also thought that it would be hard to initially get on most of the shows until our footprint, okay, is larger. So while we mentioned a lot of people, for example, Brianna Joy Gray, Ryan Knights, Sabs, Breaking Points, Jimmy Dore, Katie Halper, okay, and Aaron Mate, the Gray Zone, the Vanguard, Jen Perelman, Nick Cruz, CJ, JB Font, Hardlands Media, INN, also Brandy and Dee's own show.
Also my future show.
And also Greg's future show. And we mentioned as well Lee Camp and Patrick Lovell and Ron Placone and the Convo Couch, Garland Nixon, okay, and Abby Martin. After some talking about all these possible targets, we narrowed things down to about 5 or 6 places we would try to get into at first. We figured the most difficult place to get into at first that we might want to try to get into first was the Katie Halper, Aaron Mate show.
Mm-hmm.
The name of it, okay, is Useful Idiots.
Yep.
But I think that might be our singular objective for the first round. In other words, the place we would most love to get into.
Yeah.
From the standpoint of ease, we thought the Vanguard would be a good place to get into. And one of the reasons why is that they've been very friendly to the Red Berets. And of course, our team thus far has 2 people on it who are Red Berets.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, we have the chairperson or the head of the Arkansas Red Berets, who, of course, is Brandy. And we also have another Red Beret, someone who's been very friendly to them and getting them some visibility on the web, and that's me.
Yeah.
So 50% of the 4 of us are Red Berets and have been active in that movement. And
too active, but I've been a Red Beret. Brand made my Red Beret for me, but I've been a Red Beret for a while.
oh,
Okay.
you've been a Red Beret too.
And
Yes.
I'm interested in becoming one.
Okay, so 75% of us then, okay, are Red Berets. Okay, also Lisa who I think is going to be back reasonably soon. I suspect after the holiday season is over. Okay, is a Red Beret herself, and
Mhm.
until recently was the operations director of the Red Berets, and is also the head of the Pennsylvania chapter, okay, Red Berets. Okay, at this time. Okay, and Lila is someone else who, as a streamer, has been friendly to the Red Berets and has had them on the show she co. And she is also officially, okay, a Red Beret and recognized as such by the Red Berets. Uh, and so both of them, who I think will be joining us more frequently after the new year, are also in the Red Berets. So in other words, the majority of us are now Red Berets, and as our group expands, there will be more Red Berets who will be joining. Uh, I don't know whether Laura Fielding is going to have time to do that because she's so fundamentally dedicated to Medicare for All activism, but we will certainly try to get her involved and are in a good position to do so. So, uh, given that sort of membership and the interest the Vanguard has had in the Red Berets, we thought that they would be very approachable. Okay. Also, Jen Perelman, okay, on her show, uh, we thought she would probably be interested in the concept of dumping the corruption because she personally has suffered from the corruption at the hands of Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So we thought she would likely be interested in any plan for dumping the corruption and may be willing to have a panel of us on her show. She has done panel shows quite often, and she and Peter seem to like to do them. So we thought that might be a second target for us that we might have a pretty good chance to crack. Of course, our own shows we can appear on, okay, at any time in order to discuss these things. So the Brandy and D show, of course, would be a good show. Uh, Now, I mentioned the Lee Camp show. Uh, I don't know how easy that would be first time around. Also, Patrick Lovell is an unknown at this point, but I can work okay with Amber Grigo and see whether he'd be interested in joining our effort. Either with a new show on corruption that he may be doing or joining our own shows on corruption because his show, The Con, which was very successful, okay, as most of you know, was all about the corruption and the damage it did during the crisis of 2007, 2008, 2009, and continuing. The damage it did to people was horrendous, and he very successfully chronicled that. So he might be someone who in some way would join us, but he's not an immediate target because that's probably going to take some time to arrange. Anyway, a third show that was suggested is the Ron Placone show. And we noted there that Ron has many followers and that we have, I think, some friend connections to Ron. And he
With
seems
the berets.
yeah, sorry, Brandy, did you want to amplify that?
I was just going to say through the berets, I think we do because they've had him on when they were doing their show.
All right. And we also have connections through Jeffrey Epstein,
Mm-hmm.
who is responsible for teaching some MMT to Ron. And I believe that Jeffrey, has mentioned on a number of occasions to Ron Placone the work that I've done, in MMT, so I think that he knows my name, at least, and might be receptive to the whole idea, because I think that he's very, very aware of the corruption and the damage, it's done to the democracy in the United States.
I can also, like last night, I've got a friend of mine who has like over 3,000 followers on her Twitch, and I can approach her. She's really approachable, and I can discuss her about maybe me going and joining her live one evening and discussing everything that we're wanting to do as well, and get this out to even her audience.
That would be great. It's another platform. I think it's a wonderful way to spread it. Stephen Wolfbrand has some pretty good connections with the Convo Couch people. And while we think there'd be some risk in getting on their show if they would have us, we also believe that they are very strong in their arguments, against elections being very useful right now. Their own views on what is wrong with our elections, very strong and based on good research. On the other hand, we think they'd be very favorable to the idea of, dumping the corruption. And so while it would be risky to be connected up to them, in the sense that, we might end up in a situation where it might not be a good way to start off the effort, still, even though there's some risk to that, we have a lot of respect for their knowledge of elections, and also for their hatred of the corruption here.
Yeah. Honestly, my opinion as far as Convo Couch goes is if we're looking at the people that we're trying to bring in, so to the working together, and these are other leftists as well as non-voters. A lot of people with the Democratic Party, no matter what you say, you're not going to convince them, and that's okay. We can get those numbers if we can appeal to get non-voters to the voting booth. We can get the numbers we need through that way. And those people are more likely to appeal to people and watch us and agree with what we're saying on the Convo Couch versus some of the more Democrat following progressive shows.
Okay, Brandy, so you agree that the Convo Couch might be a good...
I think the Convo Couch would be a good one. I understand that, there's on the left, there's certain things that are disagreed upon. And they've been in the middle of that, but we're more likely to appeal to people who watch them than we are to some of the people who watch some of the other shows.
That's very good. I'm not afraid of the controversy surrounding them.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I don't have a problem with that. The risk I was talking about was simply the risk that they wouldn't be enthused by this idea. Okay. But there are very important gains to be made if they turned out to be friendly to the idea.
Yeah, and they're probably just going to want to see a plan, which, I'm trying to work with my local Green Party to get candidates. I may have had somebody already volunteer to be a candidate in the state race for the Green Party, since I've started talking to Chad about getting more people in our state on the ballot for it.
Sure.
So they're going to want to see a plan, and the plan that we got to have is we are not vote blue no matter who, because the only way to get rid of the corruption is to get people in there who will fight, and that's going to wind up having to be third parties.
Right. And what the dump the corruption idea, of course, is
Yep.
the litmus test idea.
Yep.
And we believe that the litmus test idea is going to open up the political system to third parties.
Yep, exactly. And
From my point of view, that is one of the benefits, okay, of dump the corruption. And
yeah,
for some people, it might be the main benefit. But for me, I'm very focused on the benefit of getting people in there who are not beholden to donors. I think that's a benefit in itself from a small d democratic point of view. I think if we can do that, the rest will take care of itself, okay, or at least we can take care of it with our positive activities in favor of the Green Party or other third parties.
Yeah, depending on state by state, who they've got, what options they have for candidates on their ballot. It may not, like my Arkansas and Ohio have different laws as far as ballots go and who can be on the ballot and how to get people on the ballot. Another thing is we've got to make sure that the candidates that we push and that we say endorse represent values that will appeal to working class voters, because that's part of the problem right now is we've got over 50% of our state doesn't vote of eligible voters. They don't vote because they don't trust either party. And they get told all the time, you can't vote third party. It's a wasted vote.
Yes.
So what's the point in them going? What's the point in them missing work and missing a day's pay to go vote for somebody who's going to do nothing for them?
Exactly. Exactly.
And we've, like Randy just said, we've got to get over this mentality that you need to vote Republican, you need to vote Democrat in order to have your rights and all that. Like, we need to get people over that mindset that, hey, neither party is working for you. Stop voting for them.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because neither party works for anybody. They work for their donors.
They work for the donors.
Yep.
And that's why we also need to combine the dump the incumbents and the dump the corruption in together.
Yeah, but you've got to specify with a lot of leftists that with dump the incumbents, you're not talking about just running people through the Democratic primary, because that's where they're afraid that people are trying to pull them back in. It's like we left the Democratic Party. If we wanted to be there, we'd be there. And so they're always afraid, because there has been people in the independent media that tries to bring them back into the Democratic Party. And honestly, my opinion on Andrew Yang's party is that's all it is it's another centrist party that's probably going to pull people either back into the Republican or back into the Democratic Party.
Right. I certainly agree with
So,
that, Brandy.
yeah.
I think, though, uh, okay, my view is that with the bigger picture of the dump, the corruption, if we are successful with this, if this movement is a successful movement, we will knock out so many of the incumbents and so many of the challengers that are taking big money
Mm-hmm.
that we will rock the Democratic Party and the Republican Party both
Yeah.
to their foundations. They may still exist, okay, as corporations, but their basis of operations will be so undermined that if someone who's a Democrat happens to run and happens to win because they're not taking any of the big money, okay, and let's say there's even a large number of them, 70 or 80 of those types of people who are successful, it's still going to be a totally different sort of Democratic Party that's in Congress because there isn't going to be a Hakeem Jeffries and there isn't going to be a Catherine Clark.
Yeah.
There isn't going to be a Jim Clyburn. All those people will be gone.
Yeah.
And the new people who are not taking any big money from anybody,
Exactly.
okay, are going to be the new Democratic Party and, are going to be running the Democratic Party. Okay, now I'm not saying that those people are necessarily going to be dominant in the election we envision. I mean, I don't see why they would be, because they're not going to have any more money than the Green Party candidates are going to have, or other third party candidates, okay, are going to have.
Yeah, we would make it a more even playing field for other parties to participate.
Much more even playing field for them to participate.
And so
Because
that
those
also,
candidates are in a better position to claim, hey, we're clean. We've
yeah.
never taken any of the big money.
And see what we've been watching going on since Reagan is the Republican Party keeps going right to the right.
And the
Democrats
Democrats
follow
they follow them.
because they've not had any significant challenges to the left.
Right.
And even a lot of leftist policies do appeal to conservative voters. We need to be willing to work with people that sometimes we disagree with on issues that we can agree upon.
I agree. But
So,
again, in this new
yeah,
situation, okay, if there are Democratic candidates who are not taking any big money, they will have no reason to move over to where the Republican Party was. Okay. In other words, if they're running on particular platforms that they like, in
hmm
the context of the dump the corruption movement,
and they've got a challenge to the left that they could lose to if they don't go far enough left.
they're going to move left
hmm
because of the environment we set up outside of the electoral system, the movement
Yep.
that we set up outside the electoral system. Okay, so I think where we've come to here is we agree the Convocat should be a target, Ron Placone should be a target.
What about Sabby?
Sab, we're going to work on Sabby.
Also, Jen Perelman, okay, in the Vanguard would be targets. And as we get appearances with them, we should, I think, but try to get on the RBN shows
Yeah.
and on the Katie Halper and Aaron Mate show.
The only thing I'm going to say is I'm not comfortable with Jen Perlman.
You're not comfortable with Jen Perlman.
You guys could go, but I'm just not comfortable with Jen Perlman.
We can make it work.
Yeah.
I'd like to know your reasons, though, and also you do recognize that Jen Perlman has changed her position on Palestinian rights.
Yeah, I do. I'm just not comfortable with some of the previous things that have gone on
Uh,
with RBN, and I watched the episode myself, and they literally kicked them off the show, like removed them from it, rather than having a conversation.
what did they disagree on that caused that?
They were talking about, let me see here. I think it was working within the parties or something like that. And CJ Afeni wasn't even saying anything. She wasn't even speaking. CJ got into it with Jen's assistant because he started talking about how he supported reparations and things like that. And CJ got onto him for pandering.
Oh, I see.
And whenever he told him not to pander to me, they kicked him off the show.
Oh, God.
So their behavior surrounding that entire thing, I don't trust her as far as I can throw her. And that's just my personal feeling about it.
Okay, I can understand that, but personal feeling about it.
Yeah.
And if you feel uncomfortable on going on her show, I, completely understand. Okay, I do think, though, that with respect to Palestinian rights, it's taken a lot for her to change her position on that.
Yeah. And I hope that she continues to kind of wake up to that. I mean, I don't wish her any bad will. That's why I don't even watch her show anymore after all that.
To raise the obvious issue here,
Mhm.
I also don't want to have an appearance on her show hurt our chances
Yeah.
with respect to getting on with Sabby and Nick and CJ and JB and Rome.
I think CJ and her still follow each other. But they don't talk or work together anymore after that. And I know that a lot of the more further leftists, like that hang out in my socials, are not comfortable with her.
Okay, still not.
They're not. They don't. A lot of them don't like her. They don't trust her.
She is a very prickly personality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in other words, she comes over to me. Okay, I view her as someone who seems honest, and I like that about her. But I also think that sometimes she's very hard to talk to. She strikes me as someone who is high strung, and in that sense.
Yeah, and I don't think she quite completely recognizes all the privilege she has in this area. And that's part of the problem that we recognize with her. And it's like when people have tried to call her out and say, hey, maybe you should rethink this point, she gets mad and defensive. So
Right, and that is an aspect of her personality,
mm-hmm.
that she does get angry and defensive about certain things.
Yeah.
it's also a feature of her personality that she can learn and she can change.
Yeah.
So there are those two things that are there kind of in opposition with each other.
I think she needs to make some amends, and then that change can happen.
Okay, but we have to decide
Yeah.
whether it's good for us to include her as one of the initial shows that we tried to become a part of. And so what I hear you saying is that we probably should not do that because it might hurt our
Not
chances with other people that we want to be connected to.
Yeah, it might, because we have all been basically screwed over by the Democratic Party so much, but a lot of us were willing to move to a little bit right to vote for Bernie, because honestly, I was Green Party and Libertarian before I started working with the Democratic Party. He was literally the compromise for us.
Yes.
And we've been burnt so many times that that trust is hard to gain. And so you don't want to do, and that's why I bring it up. I'm not bringing it up to throw mud, but if we want to have the trust of the leftists who are still, some of them, willing to vote, just voting third party, we have to look at our reputation on it and stay honest and truthful of where we're at, and don't let other people lead us astray.
Yes, I agree. But we also have to remember that in going on her show, uh, we want
May create some distrust that we don't need right off the bat.
that's true. Okay, but we also have to remember, on the other hand,
Mm-hmm.
that what we're advocating for on her show, uh, the corruption idea,
Yeah.
is likely to lead to the destruction of the Democratic Party as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's going to be a test for her. If she really is for the Democratic Party, okay, in that sense, and is closed mindedly attached to it, if she were to support what we were doing, she would basically be advocating for a Democratic Party that was totally changed.
Yeah. I just don't think it should be an initial one. Maybe later on, see how things are going.
Okay, I respect that. And so let us take her off the initial list. Okay, and so
What about Graham Elwood? Wouldn't he be approachable?
yeah, Graham Elwood would be approachable. Okay, I agree. Okay, the political vigilante.
Mm-hmm.
Our personal contacts with him. Uh, in terms of my view of the situation, uh, he's another one who's close to Jeff Epstein.
Yeah.
Because he learned his MMT, okay, from Jeff Epstein.
I wonder if we can have Jeff on one night.
Well, we can have him on, but Jeff historically has been sticking to MMT pretty much. I can certainly talk to him and find out if he's interested, in coming on. He and I are quite close in terms of the number of times we've come together for an interview or a formal conversation. So I view him as one of my closer friends. in this particular sphere. Okay, so that's all to the good, but I'm just not sure that he would be interested, okay, in coming on for this purpose. His time is limited. He's very religious about the MMT commitment and following that particular commitment to where it leads. I love the MMT commitment myself,
I do too. It's awesome.
but it's just not the most important thing we can be doing right now. In other words, that's the way I look at it. I love it. I'm happy to support it. Okay, I'm going to be on one of the MMT panels on the KRTD media show, the one with Warren Mosler and Steve Keen on it. Okay, I'm happy to do that. Oh, by the way, Jeff is going to be on that panel also. But I just feel like I can't spend that much time on MMT these days because I feel like the most important thing is to dump the incumbents thing. So, or actually,
Same here. Like,
It is to dump the incumbents, but I think that, having the basic conversations about MMT doesn't hurt us because what it shows is that the government can actually do something. They're just refusing to do it.
oh yes, I agree with that, and I intend to continue to have some MMT shows, but I'm shifting the weight now. Instead of having a lot of shows that dealt with MMT in some way, now I'm thinking
Yeah.
3 out of the 5 shows I do per week should be on dump the corruption. Whereas in the past, I was doing 1 out of 5 shows on that. So I'm shifting the weight, and I have a feeling that as this movement gets hotter, I'll be doing even more, on dump the incumbents because I'll get the feeling that I'm closer to accomplishing something in that area. Okay. So Greg, you suggested the political vigilante Graham Elwood.
mm-hmm.
Okay,
I think he'd be an approachable person, and I think if we can get him in a panel or whatever, then we can get some major traction there. Which I think between Ron Placone and Graham Elwood, I think we can get a lot, and I mean a lot of exposure between the two.
Also, Ryan Knight, I think, would be a very easy one to try to get on with because of the links to the Red Berets.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe so. I don't have that same feeling. I've tried to contact Ryan, okay, a number of times on this,
Okay.
and he doesn't seem to be interested. But I don't have particularly close connections with him. Okay, if you have closer connections with him, I consider him as one of the really high level people it would be great for us to reach. In other words, looking at this as a ladder we have to climb, I certainly consider him to be near the top of the ladder. Okay, so if anybody has a way of getting us connected to him and getting on his show, that would really be a leap up the ladder for us and would make it easier for us to appear on many, many other shows. So, I mean, I'd certainly be for doing that, but I think in terms of what we should be working on, it should be at first on some of the lower level shows that are generally easier for people to get on. Of course, if someone has a special contact, okay, with Ryan and can use that, to get us on his show, I mean, I am mightily in favor of that. I think that guy's great, and I'd love to appear on his show.
I will send a message to Laura and see. I know she's been busy.
Yeah, she's
And
very busy, but
yeah,
I am also very close to Laura.
yeah,
So maybe we should do something together and see if she can get us on Ryan Knight show.
yeah, because that opens the door to some other high profile leftist
Yes,
as well.
that would be an excellent way to break through.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's you and I try that.
Okay.
Okay, I had another target in mind though, since we're adding some targets.
Yeah, Burn It Down with Kim Brown. Kim Brown is awesome. Um, are you familiar with her?
I am familiar with her. I like her.
I like Kim Brown.
Okay, I've seen her on quite a number of occasions, and I certainly think that she's an excellent person.
Yep.
I don't have any personal contacts with her. If you have, okay, or another of our group has, and you think that you can easily get us on her show, I would love that.
I know Holly Horn is in her chat almost every time I go watch an episode. But yeah, I can try to reach out
Okay, that would be very good.
and see.
I wonder if Dee knows of any people that we can get in on this.
The people I wanted to mention is, okay, since Lila has recently appeared on one of these shows, and in the past, okay, has appeared, okay, on a show that I had with Lisa. Actually, both Lila and oh God, I'm blanking. But Lila and Pat, okay, the Punch Up Pod show.
Hmm. I love their show.
Oh, that would be
It's-
amazing.
I
to be on
also
a panel there.
like their show very much. I'm sure that they would have us on if we asked them.
Yep.
And I think that I'm close enough to them that I can probably arrange that easily. Okay. So if that seems like a good opening for us, generally speaking, then I will try to do that.
Okay.
I don't think it would be before the first of the year. Okay, because I think Lila is preoccupied with family until that time.
Yeah.
But after that, I think we could rapidly get on her show as a panel.
Yeah. I think that would be a good one too, because I think even their audience and is everybody's so frustrated because neither party's listening or working for us anymore or at all, haven't in a long time. And so I think that this is the moment to try to get stuff going as soon as the new year starts.
Right. Okay, so Lila, of course, only made one appearance on the Dump the Corruption show, except for the early appearances that she and Pat had, I guess, last spring. She had only one recent appearance, but I believe that she has made a decision to come on Dump the Corruption shows a lot more frequently than that. And that's another reason why I think that if we want to go on her show with Pat, that it would be an easy thing for us to do.
Yep.
So if everybody thinks that's useful, then I will quickly try to arrange that.
I agree with that one completely.
Okay. So now we have the Vanguard, okay, and Graham Elwood show and the Punch Up Pod, okay, and also a plan to go to Laura and see if she can arrange for us to go on Ryan Knight's show. Okay, and then you, Brandy, are also going to try to work on the RBN.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to try to work on RBN, and RBN would also open other doors for us as well.
All right, and we also decided as targets, okay, that Ron Placone
Mm-hmm.
would also be a target, as well as Graham Elwood, so 2 of them. And then, of course, we agreed on the convo catch.
Yeah.
So that's our immediate list, okay, at this point. Okay, so I will put that list into the chat for us.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm about to have to go and get these kitties to bed and get to bed myself.
Okay, if you have another 5 minutes,
Okay.
I just want to introduce the second thing.
Okay.
Okay, we developed, okay, an idea yesterday that in order to crack the progressives and get them to declare their independence from the CPC and from the Democratic Party, of course, that what we would do, okay, is develop a campaign where each time a progressive caves on something, we would run a tweet storm
Mm-hmm.
and enlist other people in the tweet storm to point out the caving. I believe we could get support from the Red Berets for that.
Yeah.
I might be wrong about that. I think we could get support from the Ragtag Band for that also.
Yep.
And I think if those 2 groups were to come together and support, we could also get a number of others quickly joining. And
Yep.
if we did that, every time one of them caved on something, we think we would start to build up a lot of pressure from the left on them. And that if at the same time they were getting kicked in the teeth by the leadership of the Democratic Party, specifically Hakeem Jeffries, that having those 2 pressures on both sides might have the effect of getting them angry and get them to consider the idea of going independent, continuing to caucus with the Democrats so that, they would still have the committee positions and other things, but they would have an independent position and it wouldn't be nearly as hard for Hakeem Jeffries or the other members of the leadership to crunch them in some way. So that was our main idea. We developed another number of other subsidiary ideas, to connect that up to streams of our own and to news articles and attract some attention from the press with that kind of thing. So I wanted to know what you thought of that idea.
I think that's a great idea. The only thing I'll add to it is we need to also encourage people that live in their districts to show up when they know they're going to be in town and at home. Call them out publicly. Do like they did the Cinnamon and Mansion and harass them everywhere they go.
And do it live on TikTok.
Yeah.
And do it live on TikTok.
Do it live on TikTok. Do it live on Twitter.
My idea as well was to also do a TikTok storm as well. Like we could take
a TikTok storm in order to go along with the tweet storms.
Yeah.
And what we could start like a chat somewhere, like maybe like in a Discord server, and share the links of their social network like Facebook, Twitter, like everything else, even TikTok links, so that way they can react to it and all that, and then call them out. And,
Yeah.
and I think TikTok could be very effective as well, because it has even more members on TikTok than Twitter does. So the wider the reach, the better we are.
Yeah, we
Yes.
are. And like Ghost Start said, they already get dragged on every tweet pretty much.
And I think they
So
need to
we
get dragged on
do,
TikTok. Let's
yeah,
bring this over to TikTok.
and let's bring it out into public and on the ground.
Okay,
Boots
so
on the
I
ground.
agree with both of those ideas. I think they're wonderful. And I think we got a lot accomplished over these last 2 days.
Mhm.
So that's been really good. I'll be trying to think over how to sort of summarize all this in something that will serve as a bit of a memorial up to this point. Okay, and then we can go forward with the activism aspect of this.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll be able to get something done. Okay, now I see we've had a lot of comments on this, and I want to entertain those comments. Okay, but I recognize, Brandy, that you have to leave.
Yeah.
And that's just fine. And thank you for being here tonight.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you for everyone in the chat. You guys put forth some really good points and ideas. I've been kind of reading it as well throughout the show. Have a good night, and I'll see all of you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, Brandy.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Okay, folks, so do you want to stay for the comments?
I can't hear Greg.
Well, I can't hear Greg either.
Oh, sorry, I had it muted. But that's a good idea. Take polls on their threads and let's drag the dog shit out of them, and even drag them on TikTok. And the farther, like what I said last night, you need more than 1,000 followers to go live on TikTok. So we can start dragging them all over every form of social media they're on, because I've tracked down all of the CPC members' accounts on TikTok, and I think that would be a very, very useful tool to calling them out, because they're not just on Twitter. We need to carry this out on TikTok. We need to carry this out even on their Instagram accounts. We need to spill out everywhere.
Right. If we can have the horses to do it everywhere, I agree we'll have the horses to do it everywhere on TikTok. I should say everywhere, but on TikTok and Twitter. But I don't know what our Instagram resources, are like. And we also have to be aware that we have time considerations on this. We have only a certain amount of resources when it comes to time. So a lot of the good ideas that we have, we are not going to be able to do. Like, for example, when Lisa brought up those ideas, the last time she was here, she brought up some great ideas about constructing a wonderful progressive movement. Mm-hmm. But we 4 or we 5 don't have the resources to do that, which is why I decided, we ought to cut it back to dump the corruption. It's just time considerations. We can't do all the things we wish to do. We have to focus. And we still have to focus until we get more volunteers. And hopefully we will be getting volunteers to join our movement that can help us in various ways. Okay.
I think Devora had, talking about Instagram, she has knowledge of Instagram as well, because she and I both follow each other. So
she has knowledge, of Instagram, but she has some limitations relating to her job. She could be fairly active, but whether she's able to go public as much as she would like with what we're trying to do. I don't know.
Yeah, that's something we need. And what we can all we can see who all has like knowledge of all this stuff, and we can put it together in like a Discord server somewhere, so that way we have all the resources there of readily available. And we need a toolkit as well on how we're going to do this.
Okay, we technically have, I shouldn't say technically, at the beginning of this, after we left KRTD, we had the support, of Matt, who was the IT guy for KRTD. Okay, but Matt had some problems just actually resulting from the political situation, and he needed to take a timeout,
Yeah.
and so he did. And I don't know if he's ready to come back. If he is ready to come back, I know he'll be happy to help us. He's a very, very good friend of mine. We are close. I'm sure if he's feeling better, he'd be happy to help us with the tools, and also happy to help us with the Discord server as well.
Oh yeah. And I have very good knowledge on how to operate Discord as well.
Oh, well, that's going to be very useful. Okay.
Yeah,
I realize that you were good in that respect.
Moderator in like 2 or 3 Discord servers in the farming simulator community.
Okay, so you can serve as a moderator
Mm-hmm.
For our Discord server.
Or either an administrator.
Okay.
Like I know how to use Discord. I know how to do everything and build it up, so we can do all that and have.
So can you actually start a Discord server for us?
Yeah, I can build it up. Like all I have to do is create the channels, and we can discuss what each channel is going to be about and all that.
Okay. That's very good. That is something that we ought to pursue, I think. Let's get some of the comments. We've had a lot of them. I think there were 53 comments or something. Steve Wolfbrand said that he made a few comments. He said at 9:20, that's true, Doc, about the Convo Couch. They don't trust American elections in general. And he says, with good reasons, I might add. Yeah, well, I have good reasons, too, for not trusting our elections, especially our primary elections. But also, in the general, there have been situations where things are very, very fishy, too. Steve says, less so fee. Pasta would be better. So Steve is saying if we could get pasta on, it would be better if you go that route.
I wonder how easy he would be to approach.
Well, I think Steve Wolfbrand would probably be able to make an approach to him, right, Steve? Steve says, I think Pasta might be open to getting money out of politics. Also, Kit's go-to subject. I've talked to Kit about this. He didn't seem that enthused over the idea. Yeah, he wants to get money out of politics, but I don't know whether he thinks it can be done through the kind of movement that I'm, actually proposing. But Kid is someone who could be approached. Also, Jerry Vassilatis. I've had a talk with Jerry in one of the KRTD interviews, uh, and he liked the idea, straight up liked it. Okay, so Jerry, also we might want to contact both Kit and Jerry and see if they would host a panel and see how that goes. Okay, we can check that out. I'm sure Kit is approachable for me. I don't think that's a problem.
What I thought about is also this. For us to sell them, to get our pitch out there to them, we need to also do this off like a live stream, like in a Zoom call, and discuss at length of what we're trying to do. So that way, then we can host a panel. That way they know beforehand what it's going to be about. Like do like Zoom calls with each of the people that we're wanting to reach out to.
Okay, I like the idea of Zoom calls.
Like I didn't know if that would be something you would be open to, so that way we can discuss it off show, so that way they know what we're wanting to do and see if that's something that they would be interested in.
All right. I am certainly open to Zoom calls. I have a Zoom room, so that's easy for me to set up.
Yeah, I also have one as well, so we can either use one of ours. Don't really matter.
Yeah, I agree. Doesn't really matter. So Bob Copeland says, in the state Senate race in my district, big corporations spent millions of dollars so she could win. Steve Wolfbrand says, Shahed. Yeah, I think I scrolled too fast on that. I did scroll too fast. Let me see if I can. Robert says, in the state Senate race in my district, big corporations spent millions of dollars so she could win. Steve said, but Shahed is a great man. He's a good man that doesn't take corporate money. Yeah, he doesn't take corporate money. I agree. And he's also very bright. And he's also very good. Does he have a show, Steve?
I wonder if Rocco Million could possibly help and jump on board with this, or is he not active in the scene anymore?
Okay. I think he's put together a show on investing, or at least I heard he had plans in that respect. I don't really know what Rocco is doing right now. Of course, I can find out. Kay says, I'm as okay as I can be with a blizzard coming my way in a few days. That's really good news, Kay. That's really good news. Okay. It's going to be tough for Carmen Muniz. She hasn't been able to attend the shows because it's hard for her to get connections. She mainly gets them on the weekends. But I keep on hearing from her. By email, we sort of keep in touch. But she has a problem coming from the weather. She can't go to South Florida and try to get out of range because she doesn't have the money. She says also if she goes to South Florida, there's often a problem finding food there because there are so many people who are there. So she's trying to stay in North Florida, and so she'll be subject to the big chill that's coming.
Yeah, there's a very big chill that's going to be set in here for like 3, 4, 5 days, I think.
Yeah, so she's sort of in the quandary right now, and she really needs some help. Anyway, big money was going to a city council race here in Sacramento, but that person lost. Steve, same here. Steve Friend says Gil Sedilla got voted out in my district. I guess that's a good result. He was also caught up in the racism scandal after the election. He refused to resign.
I'm going to start scoping out even some of these local Bernie Kratz groups and see if there's any people that we could get on board with this. Not a bad idea.
What would they do in their areas and get on board? Okay, in other words, what would their role be in the movement?
Getting people elected to Congress that are not beholden to corporate cash. Same thing, even on the state and local level. Because I'd like to see this whole movement go all the way, like local, state, federal.
Yeah, so
it needs to be on all fronts, and that's what I would like to see.
Yeah, that's what I would like to see too. I agree; it should be on all fronts, state, local, okay, and national.
Even all the way down to the local dog catcher.
Yeah, I mean, I think it should be at every level, and the same criteria should apply. If they take big money, they're out.
I'm just brainstorming ideas that I would like to bring into this.
Okay, I think that's a really good idea. Okay, I don't know how we could do it, how we could have the resources to do it. Okay, I'd like to socialize the general idea at all levels so all the voters get it in their head that they should act in that way. Whenever they get any kind of election, they should find out whether these people are taking any big money, as they can do from open secrets. Okay, and then they should vote against them if they are taking big money. They should vote for somebody else. I feel very strongly about that.
And also look into their voting histories and what pieces of legislation they have supported and voted in favor of.
Okay, so there's a sort of a split here. The split is the first decision is you vote against anybody taking the big money.
Mm-hmm.
The second decision is who you vote for. And if you're going to decide who you ought to vote for, then you need all kinds of additional information.
Oh, yeah.
About, what their past record has been, and about, what their platform is, and about how they're raising resources for their campaign. So there is a need for all that in order for people to how they can make a positive decision rather than just a negative decision of not voting for somebody. Okay, so in talking about it, I think we have to keep this distinction in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And organize our movement so that we're offering both ends to people. That is the information they need for a negative decision and the information they need to make the positive decision. That's going to put a heavier burden on us, and I think that has to be secondary, because the first thing to do is get the frickin' money out of politics.
Yeah, that's the most important part, getting the money out of politics. Then we could focus on other stuff.
And that comes from a negative decision of voting against anybody who's taking that big money. So, Steve Wolfman says, Robert, he's got 2 more years. There's a recall effort, though. Many signatures are needed, however. I think that's in relation to, the Kevin DeLeon. And Steve says, hi again, Ghost Start. I see Ghost Start is here. Hello, Steve Ghost Start. Steve Wolfman says, maybe burn it down with Kim Brown. I think that Brandy will probably be approaching Kim Brown for us. I think it would be great to be on Kim Brown's show. T says, reach out to Holly. She is super cool. She might be able to help you. Yeah, I am very familiar with Holly. We have worked together before in the context of the movement to throw Nancy Pelosi out on January 3rd of 2021. And we've also worked together somewhat in the context of KRTD Media and different events that KRTD Media was putting forward. So I feel like Holly is certainly a friend. And Ghosta says, they spike the punch-up pod. They do. Steve says, how about fearlessly authentic with Lucky Burrito? Tell her Wolf Dude sent you. Well, I think Lucky and I had an unfortunate incident about, it must have been about a year ago, around Christmas time. Okay, one night I had an open mic, and
Hang on just a minute.
She came on the show, okay, at that point, and an open mic type of situation. And anyway, we kind of got into it, and she tried to talk over me on my show. Okay, so I kicked her off. I don't take kindly to people trying to talk over me. I try to be very polite to people, as you may have observed. Everybody gets to state, okay, what they think. Okay, I get to answer. We have a conversation. Okay, but it's a conversation. When people start to talk over, what I do is I get rid of them. So I have had an unfortunate incident, okay, with Lucky, and I am on her list with the big brown letters.
And I want to bring up something, Joe. She gave Jimmy Sutherland a very hard time. She was very vicious to Jimmy about, I'm trying to think of what it was, but I remembered seeing some of the stuff. And she does that. She can be very cold to people. People think she's really their friend and everything else. The next thing you know, she'll turn on them. So I would stay away from her.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, okay, I don't think she would be civil to me.
No, she wouldn't. I don't think so either. And she would later on do something to twist around what we're doing to try to have it, I don't know, just to get people going, and it would distract from what we're trying to do.
Yeah, right. So you distrust her.
I totally distrust her.
Yeah, and I distrust her too. Okay, Robert says, how are you going to get people that don't watch any progressive show to support but dump the corruption? I think that's a very good question. We did not say that we're only going to appear on the progressive shows. We are, of course, starting off by trying to go on the progressive shows because that's where our contacts lie. Okay, but as we build up the movement and we go forward, we certainly will try to appear on non-progressive shows as well, because everyone should be with us who wants to be represented by their office holder. Because what we're talking about is right now, all these people don't have representation anymore because it's their donors. It's the donors of the candidates who are getting represented and not the voters in their district. What we're trying to do is to change that. That should be every bit as relevant for the conservatives and the Republicans and the libertarians as it is for the progressives. Ghostot says they always get dragged on every tweet. Steve Wolfman says, Robert, I guess we got to start somewhere. Greg Mallard says, let's drag them all over TikTok. I love Greg's spirit. Let's drag them all over TikTok. Yeah.
I wonder if we can get in touch with Richard Winfield as well here in Georgia.
I interviewed Richard Winfield like on 3 different occasions back in 2018. I was actually a very big supporter of his. I loved his platform, and I really liked him because I suppose I felt the kinship of an academic for another academic, and not just an academic, okay, but Richard is a philosopher as well, and I have a strong philosophy background myself. So, I felt a real kinship with the guy, and he was very devoted to civil conversation. And, I very much appreciated that. So, if you're asking, can we get him to come on the show? Yeah, I suppose we could get him to come on the show. I don't think that would be a problem. I think he's still on my Facebook list. But what's your idea, Greg, for having him on the show? Just to get him to join the movement?
Yeah, and see if he can see if he and I can work on something as well here in Georgia and start, because as this kicks off and we can form state and local chapters of the movement and get this to take off in other states, like Brandy could be over the chapter in Arkansas, and then we can build up a big coalition of people.
Yeah. I'd be happy to have Richard on again. As I said, he was on with me 3 times between in 2018. Okay, so I think I got to know him fairly well. So, Steve Wolfman says, I think contacting Oz would be a good idea. Okay, does Oz have a show where he might want to get us on the show? Okay, do you think that Oz would really be for defeating all the incumbents and all the challengers who are taking big money? Seems to me, according to that criteria, all the people would be voting against Oz. He at least got a good many votes, but under our criteria, he wouldn't have gotten a single vote. So,
dang it, that song needs to get out of my head now. Darn it. Now that song's gonna be stuck in my head for a while.
Okay. Steve Wolfbrand says, I think, I read that. Ghost Art says, take polls on their threads. Yeah, that would be something. Take polls on their threads. Steve Wolfbrand says, we love you, Brandy. Yeah, we do. And Steve says, good night. Ghost Art says, I don't know what Ghost Art said. He left an icon. I can't read it in this interface. Steve says, hit the like button. Thank you, Steve. Please do hit the like button. And if you can afford it, please do buy me a coffee or make a contribution on Patreon. Ghost Art says, I am banned everywhere but Twitter. JK, I think he says I don't use M. I'm not sure what M is. You are aware that Oz is on the 1s and 2s for Convo Couch now. Oh, that Oz. That Oz. Oh, yeah, that Oz. Yeah. Yeah. Oz might be interested in working with us. There's one problem. Oz is interested in getting paid. And we don't have any money to pay with. So, at least I've heard that, by the way.
Oh, and by the way, you're now up to 225 subscribers on YouTube thanks to my other account.
Oh, thank you, Greg.
So yeah, I'm following you from 2 different accounts.
Okay. No, Steve. The answer is no. I wasn't aware. I was sort of dimly aware because I've been on the Convo Couch, and Pasta mentioned that Oz was on the 1s and 2s. I do remember that, but I had forgotten it. Steve says Oz could get you to Pasta, but I don't know that Oz would want to do that. I'm not that friendly with Oz. Steve says I don't do Twitter either. Steve Wolfman, just YouTube. Ghost Art at the moment, yes. Ghost Art says Zoom's on my PC, never used. I used to use FB video chat for friends till I got, for friends and family till I got banned. And Shad doesn't have a show that I know of. That's what I thought. But Shad could certainly be a guest. He's been a guest on my show before, and we've gotten along just fine. Maybe he'd be interested in joining the movement. Yeah, I think we need to explore that. Ghost Art says, the PSA, Zelensky's coming to D.C. It's an Xmas miracle, trying to get some more money out of us. And Kay Ryan says, yes, Steve. It could be that Zelensky is coming to D.C., and then he will check out his Florida estate while he's here. And then perhaps he'll decide just to stay, because while he's gone, there may be a coup against him in Ukraine, where General Zaluzny takes over. That might be a good thing. Steve says, Lucky Brutus is a small show, but the followers are very active. I think it would be a good start. Well, Steve says, I got a picture of me and Shahid. This is Stephen Wolfbrand. And Ghost Art says, hey, they still haven't found the other twin. Amber Alert. Kay says, laugh out loud, Steve. Oh, I wasn't aware you and Lucky Burrito had a run-in, Doc. Yeah, we had a run-in, all right. I can be pretty tough sometimes. Steve Wolfbrand says, I think every right-wing show would support, even right-wing shows would support Dump the Corruption. I think so too. I'm just unfamiliar with the right-wing shows. The only even remotely right-wing show I'm familiar with is Joe Rogan, and I don't really consider Joe Rogan right-wing, even though many people do. Most people are not watching any shows, so how would we get them involved in Dump the Corruption? Because eventually we're going to leave Twitter and bridge to real life. If we organize local chapters, those local chapters are going to be immersed in real life, and they're going to get local volunteers who are not primarily on Twitter, and to Dump the Corruption. If we don't get into real life, we're not going to have the movement we need to have in order to throw all those people out of Congress. Steve says, yes, Doc has 2 shows and produces for Convo Couch. Yeah, I know Oz is very active. Very active.
And I think having Richard Winfield on may be a good thing in the future, because he and I could collaborate together here in Georgia on something, which would be very amazing. And I think he ran for Congress maybe twice, maybe U.S. Senate once. I'm not sure which of the 2 he ran for.
I never had the impression he ran for Senate. I thought it was always for the House, which I thought was pretty intelligent, because I thought for some of those races he had a good chance.
Hang on, I'm going to look him up on Ballotpedia. He ran in 2020 for U.S. Senate in that special election. He got like almost 29,000 votes.
He was running for the Senate?
Yes, in 2020.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Okay, in the special election that Warnock won?
Yes.
He was running against Warnock?
Yeah, in the first time. He also ran in the Democratic primary in Georgia's 10th Congressional District.
In 2020?
In 2018.
In 2018, yeah. I know he did. In 2018.
Yeah, too bad he wasn't in my district. I would have voted for him.
I loved his stance on the job guarantee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was looking for a job guarantee at $21 an hour.
It was really, at the time, it was realistic, and compared to inflation at the time, that's what the wage needed to be for the minimum wage, with the price of with how inflation is. Nowadays, I think it's probably about $25, $26, maybe $27.
Yeah. So Steve replied, he said, Joe Rogan is not right-wing. He endorsed Bernie, for fuck's sake. Steve, that was one of the reasons why I said I didn't think he was right-wing. What I was saying, I thought maybe he was the closest to having a right-wing show that I was aware of. I just don't know.
I think Joe Rogan is more or less, more libertarian than anything.
That's what I think, too. I think so, too. Okay, guys, I think it's time to go. These shows keep lasting more than the 60 minutes I would like, but they're good shows. And the discussion.
Yes, sir, they are.
So thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Thank you for
having us on. It's been a very pleasurable experience.
Oh, well, thank you, Greg, and thank you, Dee, for your contributions very much.
Yes.
And Brandy made also wonderful contributions too.
And
So,
don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow everyone.
yes, please do. I'll be back tomorrow.
Come stop by Around the World with Brandy and Dee at 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
I will stop by Brandy and Dee.
I don't know if I'm going to do live. I may do live hopping again. Who knows?
Okay. Do you believe? Okay. Have you an inkling of what you're going to talk about tomorrow, Dee?
Yes, we're going to have Sakura on, Noah, and Gregory. Joe, you're welcome to be on it too. We're going to talk about the transgender issue from people that have living experiences and some of the prejudices that are out there. We're going to talk about it all.
Okay.
And give them truth. Give the audience truth.
Okay. I don't have any living experience, but if I'm welcome to come on,
Yes, you are.
since two of my friends, specifically Gregory and Sukuru, they are going to be on, then I would feel welcome to join the discussion.
Yes, you're very welcome to join. 8 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow.
And I had an interview with Noah before as well.
Yes.
I think that went well.
Yes, he's a very, very nice person.
Yes, but I consider Tsukuru and Gregory to be real friends. So
Yeah.
What are you talking about here? You're family to me.
Yes, we all know. We're one big family.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Y'all take care and have a great night.
Okay. You too.
Yes, good night.
Good night.